After a long 4 years, Black Mirror's finally back with Season 6. The first episode, Joan is Awful, follows an average woman named Joan who comes home from work to find that her entire day has been dramatized into a series on Streamberry, the in-universe Netflix. With no legal recourse, Joan takes the show's cancellation into her own hands. The episode starts with a quick run-through of Joan's day, firing an employee at work, opening up to her therapist about her dissatisfaction with her relationship, and feeling as though she's not the main character of her own life, and meeting up with her ex, Mac, before rushing home to have dinner with her fiancé, Krish. The couple sits down to browse Streamberry, the show's Netflix stand-in, when they find the show Joan is Awful and quickly, or quite slowly in Krish's case, realize the episode they're watching is based entirely on Joan's actual day, with Joan being portrayed by Salma Hayek. After witnessing a text exchange and the dramatized meetup between Joan and Mac in the show, Krish leaves to stay somewhere else. The next morning, Joan shows up to work to find she's been fired by the board for violating her NDA as a result of the TV show portraying the conversation she had when firing an employee the day before. With her life falling apart, Joan consults her lawyer, who informs her there's nothing she can do about the show. She explains that Joan agreed to the terms and conditions when she signed up for Streamberry, and permission to create such a show was buried in there on page 58. Joan learns that the show is made using an advanced CGI deepfake thingy that takes Joan's activity collected through her phone and the licensed likeness of famous actors to create each episode. Upset over her situation, Joan heads to Max and tries to sleep with him, but he can't get it up for her, knowing that whatever happens will be portrayed in the next episode of the show. Joan storms out of the room in frustration and sits down to watch the rest of the episode when she gets an idea. Joan devours burger after burger, chugs Miralax, and interrupts a wedding in a cheerleader uniform to publicly relieve herself, knowing the show will recreate the scene with Salma Hayek's likeness. After the next episode airs, Salma Hayek consults her lawyer just as Joan did, only to find out there's nothing she can do, just as Joan did. Refusing to accept this, Salma visits Joan and they team up to destroy the computer that creates the show. Salma successfully sneaks Joan into Streamberry HQ, seeking out the computer but running into tech guy Michael Cera, who is watching an episode of Joan is Awful featuring the real Joan. Except, plot twist, the Joan we've been following this whole episode hasn't actually been the real Joan. We've been watching Level 1 Joan, who's based on Source Joan and portrayed by the licensed image of actress Annie Murphy. Tech Guy explains that he isn't Michael Cera, but the digital likeness of Michael Cera, and both Level 2 Joan and Salma Hayek are just the digital likeness of the real Salma Hayek. Annie Murphy Joan knocks out the Tech Guy and grabs an axe to destroy the computer. The Streamberry CEO storms in and warns that destroying the computer would kill billions of simulated souls. But Annie Murphy Joan realizes that she has no choice in destroying the computer. The fact that she's standing there with an axe means that Source Joan has done the same, understanding that she'll destroy the computer because it's already happened. She swings the axe, and we cut to Source Joan in the real world with real-world Annie Murphy, as they had teamed up in real life just as Selma and Annie Murphy Joan had. Real Joan gets arrested but released on house arrest, and she opens up her own coffee shop. She ends the episode talking to her therapist, accepting that there are going to be good days and bad, and admitting that she finally feels like the main character of her own story. This episode had a little bit to say about the future of content creation, since Joan is Awful was merely a test, as Streamberry's ultimate goal was to create series specifically targeted at individuals in order to be the most relatable content. When questioned why the shows were about the individual being awful, the Streamberry CEO explained that they did try to create affirmative content, but it didn't elicit as much engagement as when they focused on weaknesses and selfish moments. It put viewers into a state of mesmerized fear and kept them watching as they couldn't look away. In other words, Streamberry realized that they would get more watch time from viewers if they exploited their insecurities and made them feel awful about themselves. One thing I was expecting at the end when real Joan was in therapy was something alluding to her comment about not feeling like the main character in her own life being what led to her being specifically chosen as the test subject for the show. To have this experience that led her to a place where she does feel like the main character and she's happier with her life, I think is a win against Streamberry, as not only has she destroyed their computer, but she's ended up in the exact opposite position as they intended. Their goal with user-specific content was to make people feel miserable so they'd keep watching, but Joan said fuck that and came out on top. Good for her, but what did you think about this episode? And who would play you in an AI-generated dramatized version of your life? Let me know down in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. Please and thank you. Bye.